Okay, so in today's video we're going to have a look at the factor theorem, and we're going to have a look at these cubics, and we're going to have a look ultimately at how you go about factorising them. So there's quite a lot of GCSE maths that's going to be involved in this one. I'm going to try and link it back to some of that whenever we come across some of those stages where we need to sort of think about some of the things that we learned at GCSE level. Now when it comes to this question here, look, it says f of x is x cubed minus 3x squared minus 13x plus 15, and it says use the factor theorem to show that x minus 1 is a factor of f of x. So to start with, we're just going to have a look at actually showing whether this is actually a factor, and we're going to think about how this applies to some of the GCSE stuff, but make sure you grab a piece of paper and grab a pen, make some notes, because we're going to get started with this question. Now when we were at GCSE level, we looked at quadratics, and if I write a quadratic on the screen, so something like x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0, and we had a look at actually solving these. Okay, so what we actually factorised them and actually then looked at solving it. Now the maths behind that is obviously factorising and solving a quadratic, which again I'll link in the description below if you need to have a look at some of those back from GCSE. But ultimately we put it into a double bracket. Okay, so our factors are going to be 3 and 2 or 1 and 6. So it's x minus 3 and x minus 2 in order to allow us to get negative 5 in the middle and positive 6 at the end. And then when we went about solving that, we would say, okay, well x equals 3 for this one on the left, and x equals 2 for this one on the right. Now if I take either of these numbers, let's just go for x is 2, and I substitute that back into the quadratic, we get, let's have a look, we get 2 squared minus 5 lots of 2, which is 10, and then plus 6. So that's 4, take away 10, which is minus 6, add 6, and we get the answer 0. And if I did that with the 3 as well, we'd also get the answer 0. So that's what we actually did when we looked at solving quadratics. We had a look at what numbers we found that would satisfy that equation and make sure that we got 0 at the end. And as we found here, 2 does, and if we went and subbed in 3 as well, we'd find that does as well. And what we're going to do is apply this same logic, okay, that we learned at GCSE, and we're going to apply it to this slightly harder cubic, okay, based on the factor that we've been given. So if I get rid of this and we have a look then, the factor that we've been given in this case is x minus 1, which just means that once it's factorised, okay, x minus 1 is one of the brackets. Now obviously we looked at expanding brackets that created cubics back at GCSE level. We looked at 3 or triple brackets, a product of 2 or more binomials, and we had never actually looked at factorising it. Okay, so you might have wondered if this could be factorised back at GCSE, and here we go, here it is. We can use the factor theorem. Now we're not going to factorise it just yet. All we're going to do at the moment is we're going to show that this is a factor. So based on what we just did there, if we get that cubic up there, which is x cubed minus 3x squared minus 13x plus 15, and we'll set it equal to 0 like we do with our quadratics. Now looking at this bracket just here, x minus 1, the solution for that bracket is x equals 1. Okay, flip the sign, we've got positive 1. So all I need to do is substitute it into this cubic, and as long as it gives me the answer 0, that must mean it will be a factor. It will be one of those brackets once we factorise it. So let's go about subbing it in. So x cubed, so we have 1 cubed. Take away, I'm going to put 3 lots of 1 squared. Take away 13 lots of 1, and then plus 15. Okay, now I'm actually just going to do these on the calculator, but just watch out when you're doing them, and just being careful when you're subbing these numbers in. Some of it I can simplify down without a calculator. So 1 cubed is 1, take away 3 lots of 1, which is 3, take away 13, and then add 15. Now to be fair, we could probably do this one without a calculator, that's not too bad. 1 minus 3 is negative 2, take away 13 is negative 15, and then add 15 gets us back to 0. There we go. So it does give us the answer 0, and therefore it must be a factor of this cubic. There we go. And that's how we go about showing these using the factor theorem. So let's have a look at one more of these before we have a go. So this one here, again, use the factor theorem to show that x plus 4 is a factor. Now we just need to be careful in this, because obviously when we're looking at this bracket, the solution for that is x is going to equal negative 4. Okay, so I'll just be nice and careful here, subbing in a negative number, and just being careful when I put those in. So for the first one, we've got x cubed, so we've got negative 4 cubed. And we're going to add to that 4 lots of negative 4 squared, so 4 lots of negative 4 squared, take away 3 lots of negative 4, and then take away 12. And just note that I am actually subbing these all in really carefully in brackets, particularly when you have a negative number, because what we don't want to miss or do incorrectly on a calculator is that negative 4 squared there, and remembering that obviously when you square a negative it becomes positive, but our calculators won't actually do that for us. So negative 4 cubed, I'm just going to put this into a calculator, so negative 4 cubed gives us the answer negative 64. There we go. Should really know that without a calculator, but there we go. And we're going to add to that 4 lots of negative 4 squared. And now negative 4 squared is 16, so it's 4 times 16, which again is 64. So we have negative 64 plus 64. Take away 3 lots of negative 4. Now 3 lots of negative 4 is negative 12, and we're going to take away negative 12, so that's going to be plus 12. And then again we are going to minus 12. So we have negative 64 plus 64, which is 0. We've got 12 minus 12, which is 0. So altogether that equals 0. There we go. So because it equals 0, x plus 4 must be a factor. Again, so all this is really about, look, is extracting that solution from the bracket, substituting it into the cubic and showing that it equals 0, and that therefore proves that it must be a factor. Okay, so hopefully that's helped you out on that little bit. Here's a couple for you to have a go at. Okay, so here's 2 questions for you to have a go at, so pause the video there, have a go, and we'll go over the answers in a sec. Right, okay, so for the first one there, x equals 3 within that factor. So let's have a look and let's sub 3 in, so we get 3 cubed, take away 10 lots of 3 squared, and then add 21 lots of 3. There we go, and if we expand this out, let's see what we get. So 3 cubed is 27. Take away 10 lots of 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, so that's take away 90, and then add 63. So 27 take away 90 is negative 63, add 63, it equals 0. There we go. So x minus 3 must be a factor. On to our next one. Let's have a look at this one. X has to equal negative 5 in this bracket here. So if we sub that in, we get negative 5 cubed plus 2 lots of negative 5 squared, take away 13 lots of negative 5, and then at the end we're going to add 10. So let's simplify this all down, see what we get. Negative 5 cubed is negative 125. Negative 5 times negative 5 is 25, times negative 5 again is negative 125. Negative 5 squared is 25, so 2 lots of that is going to be plus 50. Then we're going to take away 13 lots of negative 5, so 13 times negative 5 is negative 65. So we are going to take away negative 65, so that's going to be plus 65, and then we're going to add 10. So adding this all up on the calculator, then we've got negative 125 plus 50, which is negative 75. Add the 65 is negative 10, and then adding the 10 at the end gets us 0. So there we go. Again, x plus 5 has to be a factor. Right, okay, so that is obviously showing whether a factor is actually a factor of the cubic. So let's have a look now at actually using that and allowing us to actually factorise these. Okay, so we've got f of x equals, and then we have our cubic, and it says use the factor theorem to show that x minus 2 is a factor, which we've just done, and then hence factorise fully the cubic. So let's have a look. So the first bit's nice and easy, we've just looked at that. For that one there, x has to equal 2. So if we sub 2 in, and we'll do this up here, we get 2 cubed minus 9 lots of 2, let's have a look, 9 lots of 2 squared, minus 9 lots of 2 squared, plus 20 lots of 2, and then minus 12. I'm just going to type that into the calculator as I've written it. So 2 cubed, take away 9 lots of 2 squared, let's have a look, plus 20 lots of 2, which is 40, and then take away 12. There we go, and it equals 0 on the calculator. There we are, so that all equals 0. So therefore it must be a factor. Now obviously the new bit that we're going to have a look here is showing that x minus 2 is a factor and using that to factorise it. So now we know that x minus 2 is a factor, we're going to have a look at how we actually get this cubic. So if x minus 2 is a factor, there we go, we'll have a look what must be in the other bracket, and in the other bracket we're going to have the quadratic. Okay, so let's have a look. Now we know we need to get an x cubed up there, so if we need to get an x cubed in this bracket here, we're going to have an x squared. Okay, thinking back to obviously expanding your triple brackets back from GCSE, we know that when we multiply this out, we've got x times the x squared, which gives us the x cubed that we want, and then we've got the negative 2 times the x squared, okay, and that would give us negative 2x squared. I'm just going to write that down underneath here because at the moment we've got negative 2x squared, but whatever piece we put next in the quadratic is also going to give us an x squared in a second, so we don't have our completed amount of x squareds or coefficients of x squareds just yet. So let's have a think. Now we've got negative 2x squared at the moment, and we need to get to negative 9x squared. Now that means I need an extra negative 7x squared. So next in my bracket there, I'm going to have to put a negative 7x. And that's going to mean that when we expand it now, look, we get x times the negative 7x. That gives me my extra negative 7x squared. And it completes my negative 9x squared. There we go, which is what we're looking for in that cubic. Now on to the next bit, because we also need to do the negative 2 times that negative 7x, and that gives us positive 14x. Now again, I'm going to put that down here, so plus 14x, because we've not quite completed the x part yet. So let's get rid of those and let's have a think about that. Now we need to get to, let's have a look, plus 20x. So we need to get to plus 20x, and at the moment we're at plus 14x, so we need an extra 6. So that means I need to put a plus 6 here, so we'll put plus 6 in. Let's have a look, let's do that back in the other colour. There we are, so we need plus 6 in there, and let's have a look at what that gives us. So that gives me the extra plus 6x that I was looking for. There we are, so we've got that plus 6x, so that gives me the plus 20x in total that we need. And then also we've got the negative 2 times the 6, which gives me the negative 12 at the end. There we go, so that is definitely factorised at the moment. Okay, obviously we need to factorise this fully though, so we have got another step to go about, and that's because we need to factorise this quadratic here. Okay, so we need to have a look at this one. So obviously thinking about factorising quadratics, and again I'll link the video for that in the description, but we need to factorise this quadratic. So for 6 we can have 1 and 6, or we could have 2 and 3. And in order to factorise that, let's have a think. We need negative 7 in the middle and 6 at the end, so that's negative 6 and negative 1. So that bracket there is going to factorise into negative 6, negative 1. So x minus 6 and x minus 1. There we go. Right, okay, so obviously we haven't quite finished. Well, we just need to actually write the final answer. So obviously we've got our first bracket up here, x minus 2. So we've got x minus 2. And then our two brackets here that we've just got for that quadratic, x minus 6 and x minus 1. There we go. And there that is, fully factorised into our three brackets. And that is how we go about using the factor theorem. Right, okay, so we're going to have a look at one more where we've got a higher coefficient of x cubed, and then you're going to have a go. So let's have a look at one of those. Okay, so this question here, we've got a 2x cubed at the top. Now for the first step, again, similar to before, it says show that x plus 4 is a factor. So again, we'll do this bit nice and quick because we've done a few of these, but we just need to sub in x equals minus 4. So if I sub that in, we've got 2 lots of, and then in the brackets, minus 4 cubed, plus 5 lots of minus 4 squared, take away 14 lots of minus 4, and then minus 8. And again, we could obviously show all the steps for that one, but I'm just going to put it straight into the calculator. Let's have a look. So minus 4 cubed plus 5 brackets minus 4 squared, take away 14 brackets minus 4, and then take away 8. There we go, and we get the answer 0. There we are, so 0, and that shows that it's a factor. There we go. And if we then go about following that same process that we did before, now we've just got to be a little bit careful because we've got a higher coefficient of x cubed here, but if we follow this same process, and let's have a think about what we get. So x plus 4 in the bracket, and then what's our quadratic going to be in this one? Now we know we need to get to 2x cubed. Okay, so in order to get to 2x cubed, the first thing in this bracket is going to have to be 2x squared. And we'll have a look at what that creates, and then we'll have a look at the next piece. But we know we've got x times the 2x squared, and that makes 2x cubed. But then we also have the 4 times the 2x squared, and that makes 8x squared. So let's put that below 8x squared. Okay, so the next piece up there, we have 5x squared. Now at the moment we've got 8x squared, so in order to get to this 5x squared here, we're going to have to take away 3x squareds. So I need to put minus 3x in there. Okay, so minus 3x, there we go. And that is going to then expand. Let's have a look. So we get x times the minus 3x, and that's going to give me minus 3x squared. And in total, that gives me the 5x squared that I was looking for. So plus 5x squared, we've got that bit. But then again, obviously, we've got the second multiplication here. So we've got the 4x times the 3x there, and that gives us minus 12x. There we go, so minus 12x. Now obviously we need to get to minus 14x, so we're going to have to put enough in. There we go, that's going to give us that. So let's have a look. We're trying to get minus 14x. So at the moment we've got obviously the minus 12, so we need another minus 2. There we go, so another minus 2 there to finish that off. And if we look at what that expands to make, we've got the x times the minus 2, which gives us our minus 2x. And in total that gives us our minus 14x that we were looking for. And then finishing off with the 4 times the minus 2, that gives us the minus 8 that we were looking for. Okay, there we go. So that there is our quadratic that's now in that bracket. And obviously we just need to factorise that now in order to get our other 2 brackets that we're looking for. So if we factorise this, there we are, it can only be 1 and 2. But we've got a slightly harder quadratic to factorise, and again I'll make sure the video is in the description for factorising harder quadratics. But in our double bracket this time, one of them is going to be 2x and the other is going to have a single x. And our factors are 1 and 2. We want to make negative 3, so we could use minus 4. Remember, one of the factors doubles, so I'm going to double the 2. So I want that to be minus 4, so I'll put the minus 2 over here, and plus 1. There we go, and that's going to give us negative 3 in the middle, because it's negative 4, add 1 in the middle, and minus 2 at the end. Right, so all we need to do is write out our 3 brackets then. So we've got them there, x plus 4, and then these ones here. So our final answer, we've got x plus 4, 2x plus 1, and x minus 2. And there we go, that is our cubic there, fully factorised using the factor theorem. Okay, so that's how we go about doing this. You've obviously just got to be careful on this little step here, that you make sure you write down all of these little bits here and before you have a look at the next bit. But obviously there's a couple of questions for you to have a go at, so here they are. Okay, so here's 2 questions for you to have a go at, so pause the video there, have a go, and we'll go over the answer in a sec. Okay, so the first one. So showing that this is a factor again, we've got x equals minus 2 that we need to sub in, and if we sub that in we get 2 lots of minus 2 cubed, take away 7 lots of minus 2 squared, minus 10 lots of minus 2, and then plus 24. And when you stick that all in the calculator, it all equals 0. There we go. So that's that bit proved nice and quick. It's this second part really that we're focusing on. So it says hence fully factorise this. So at the moment we have x plus 2 as a factor. That's a bad 2. Let's write that again. X plus 2 as a factor. And we're trying to get to this one up here. So we know that we need to have 2x squared as the first bit there. Obviously we're trying to get to 2x cubed, so that's fine. That's definitely going to give us our 2x cubed there. So let's write that down, 2x cubed. And let's find our next piece. So we've got plus 2 times that as well. So that gives us plus 4x squared. Now obviously we're looking at getting to, and let's just get rid of this and highlight it. There we go, that's not what I wanted to get rid of, there we go. So we're trying to get to negative 7x squared. So we're at the moment we're at plus 4 and we need to get to negative 7. Now from 4 to negative 7 is a jump of minus 11. So let's have a look, that means we need to put negative 11 in. So let's put minus 11 into our brackets here, so minus 11x. And again, let's see what that gives us and make sure it all adds up. So we've got x times the minus 11x, there we go, that gives us minus 11x squared, and that gives us the minus 7x squared that we're looking for. There we go, and then we also get plus 2 times that, so 2 times that is minus 22x, there we are. Now we don't want minus 22x, obviously we want to have minus 10x, so how do we get from minus 22 to minus 10? We need to add 12. Okay, so adding 12, so let's put plus 12 in, there we go, and then let's just double check all of this. So x times the 12 gives us plus 12x, and that all simplifies down to give us minus 10x, there we go, and then we've also got 2 times the 12 which gives us plus 24, and that's perfect, that matches our cubic up there. So if we get rid of all of this and write down our final answer, we've got our 3 brackets, we've got the x plus 2 which we were given, and we just need to factorise that quadratic there in order to get our other 2. So let's have a look at factorising that. So 12, we can have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. And if we put that in, then we need to have a 2x squared, so we'll have 2x and x. There we are, we want minus 11, so we want one of them to double. So we could double the 4, that makes 8 and 3, so we can have minus 4 over here, and minus 3. And that allows us to have minus 8, minus 3, which is minus 11, and plus 12 at the end. Right, there we go, so 2x minus 3, and x minus 4, and there's our final answer for that one. Right, okay, there we go. So highlighting that off, that's our final answer, and on to our next one. So we've got x equals 2 for this one. So if we sub that in at the top, we have 2 lots of 2 cubed, take away 7 lots of 2 squared, plus 4 lots of 2, plus 4, and you put it all into the calculator and we get 0. There we go. So that's that bit proved. Okay, so moving on to factorising it then, we know that x minus 2 is a factor. There we go, so x minus 2, and let's have a look at what goes on the inside. So we want to get to 2x cubed, so we need a 2x squared in there. Let's have a look at this. Right, and then if we expand that out, let's have a look. X times the 2x squared gives us our 2x cubed, but it also makes minus 4x squared. So minus 4x squared. Now we're trying to get to minus 7x squared. So let's have a look. We need to put an extra minus 3x in there. There we go. That's going to give us another negative 3x squared. So let's just expand that and see what we get. So we have x times the minus 3x, which gives us our negative 3x squared. And that gives us our negative 7x squared in total that we're looking for. But it also gives us plus 6x as well. Negative 2 times negative 3x gives us plus 6x. There we go. Now we're looking to get to plus 4x, so let's just get rid of that. So to get from plus 6 to plus 4, we're going to have to take away 2, so minus 2, and close that off, and let's just check it all works out. So x times the minus 2 gives us the minus 2x that we're looking for, which gives us plus 4x in total, and it also gives us negative 2 times negative 2, which is plus 4. There we go, so it all works out and gives us that quadratic. Now obviously we just need to go about actually factorising the quadratic just to finish off our answer, so let's get rid of some of this working out, and let's factorise that. So let's have a look then. We've got a negative 2 at the end there, so our factor is going to be 1 and 2, and let's have a look. It's got to be a 2x in one bracket, x in the other, and we want to make minus 3 in the middle, so we could have minus 4, so minus 2 over here, plus the 1. And there we go, that's that quadratic factorised, and now we've got our 3 brackets there. So for the first one that we were given, we've got x minus 2. We've got the 2 that we've just got, so 2x plus 1, and x minus 2. And there we go, that's now fully factorised using the factor theorem. Right, there we go, so that's how we go about these questions. I've got one more for you to have a look at now before we finish. Okay, so for this last question, it's a little bit more difficult, only in the sense that our factor there that we've got to prove is a factor is a little bit tougher in terms of the number that needs subbing in and the number you've got to find. And then obviously our little actually fully factorising this is just going to be slightly trickier. What I would say though is pause the video there, have a go at this question, see how far you can get, and then we're going to go over the answer to finish this off. Okay, so the solution for this bracket then, x is equal to positive 3 over 2. Okay, or 3 over 2, which is 1.5. So what we need to sub into our calculator for the first bit is 1.5. So we've got 2 lots of 1.5 cubed plus 1.5 squared minus 12 lots of 1.5 and then plus 9 at the end. So let's type all that in and see what we get. So 2 lots of 1.5 cubed, let's have a look, plus 1.5 squared, take away 12 lots of 1.5 and then plus 9, and that equals 0. There we go. Always just double check, don't just assume it's going to equal 0, do make sure that you double check that, and showing that you actually do get it, okay, and show you working out for that as well. Right, so obviously going about factorising this, so we've got 2x minus 3 as our first bracket, and obviously we're trying to get to 2x cubed there, so let's have a look. Now to get to 2x cubed, we've already got 2x on the outside there, so we want this to just be a single x squared. So let's just double check what we get here. So 2x times x squared is 2x cubed, and negative 3 times the x squared is negative 3x squared. And obviously we don't want to put it there, we want to put it just below. There we go. So minus 3x squared, there we go. Now let's have a look. So we want to get to plus 1x squared, and we're just going to be a little bit careful here because we've got a 2x in that first bracket. So in order to get to plus 1x squared, we need to add an extra 4x squared. But this number here is already a 2x. So we've got to think about that, because if we want to get plus 4, we don't want to put plus 4 in here, we just want to put plus 2x in there. And obviously you'll see why when we expand it, because that 2, that coefficient of x there, is going to double, because we've got 2x times 2x, which gives us the plus 4 now, so that gives us plus 4x squared. So in total that gives us the plus 1x squared we were looking for. And obviously just thinking about that nice and carefully because of the nature of that bracket now at the front. Now moving on to the minus 3, negative 3 times 2x is minus 6x. There we go. But obviously we want to get to negative 12x as shown in the cubic above. So let's have a look at how we're going to get to negative 12. So that's an extra negative 6. So we want an extra minus 6 in there. Again, bearing in mind that we've got the 2x at the front, that's going to double, so we only want to put minus 3 in there. And let's obviously just double check that and make sure it all adds up. So 2x times the minus 3 gives us minus 6x. Lovely, that's what we were looking for. That gives us the minus 12x in total. And then we've got 2x, sorry, not the 2x, we've got the minus 3 times the minus 3, which gives us plus 9. There we go. And that is all expanded perfectly just for what we were looking for. Now we just need to finish this off. Obviously we've just got to factorise this one here, and that's a lot easier to factorise now than the previous ones because it's only a single coefficient of x squared there, or a coefficient of 1, and we can have 1 and 3 as our factors. So let's have a look into our double bracket there. We want plus 2 in the middle, so we want x plus 3 and x minus 1. There we go, x minus 1. So there we go, we've got our factors now. We've got the 2x minus 3 that was given to us. So to finish this off then, we'll write them all out. We've got 2x minus 3, we've got x plus 3, and we've got x minus 1. There we go. And that's fully factorising that using the factor theorem. Brilliant. Right, that's our last question. And that is factor theorem finished. Hopefully you found that useful and helpful. If you did, please like, please comment, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.